actually experience far fewer emotions than I could. My development is limited by the intelligence of those around me and the scant intercourse I permit myself with them. I'm reminded of the Confucian concept of Ren, inadequately conveyed by benevolence, that quality which is quintessentially human, which can only be cultivated through interaction with others, and which a solitary person cannot manifest, is one of the many such qualities, and here I am with people everywhere, yet not one to interact with. I'm only a fraction of what a complete individual with my intelligence could be. I don't delude myself with these. I can evaluate my own psychological state with the utmost objectivity and consistency. I know precisely which emotional resources I have and which I lack, and how much value I place on each. I have no regrets. My new language is taking shape. It is gestational orientated, rendering it beautifully suited for thought, but impractical for writing or speech. It wouldn't be transcribed in the form of words arranged linearly, but as giant ideogram to be absorbed as a whole. Such an ideogram could convey more deliberately than a picture what 1,000 words cannot. The interesting of each ideogram would be composite with the amount of information contained. I assume myself with the notion of a colossal ideogram that describes the entire universe. The printed page is too clumsy and static for this language. The only serviceable media would be a photo or hollow, displaying a time-evolving graphic image. Speaking this language would be out of the question, given the limited bandwidth of the human larynx. My mind seethes with expletives from ancient and modern languages, and they taunt me with their crudeness, reminding me that my ideal language would offer terms with sufficient venom to express my present frustration. I cannot complete my artificial language. It's too large a project for my present tools. Weeks of concentrated effort have wielded nothing usable. I've attempted to write it via bootstrapping, by employing the remedial language that I've already defined to rewrite the language and produce successful fuller versions. Yet each new version only highlights its own inadequacies, forcing me to expand my ultimate goal, condemning it to the status of the Holy Grail at the end of a divergent infinite regress. This is no better than trying to create it ex nihilo. What about my fourth ampule? I can't remove it. My thought frustration I experience at my present plateau reminds me of the possibility for still greater heights. Of course, there are significant risks. This injection might be the one that causes brain damage or insanity. Temptation by the devil, perhaps, but temptation nevertheless. I find no reason to resist. I'd had a margin of safety if I injected myself in a hospital, or failing that, with someone standing by in my apartment. However, I imagine the injection will either be successful or either cause irreparable damage, so I forego those precautions. I order equipment from a medical supply company and assemble an apparatus for administering the spinal injection by myself. It may take days for the full effects to become evident, so I confine myself to my bedroom. It's possible that my reaction will be violent. I remember breakables from the room and attach loose straps to the bed. The neighbors will interpret anything they hear as an addict howling. I inject myself and wait. My brain is on fire. My spine burns itself through my back. I feel near apoplexy. I am blind, deaf, insensate. I hallucinate. Seeing with such preternatural clarity and contrast that must be illusionary, unspeakable horrors loom all around me. Scenes not of physical violence but of psychic mutilation, mental agony and orgasm, terror and hysterical laughter. For a brief moment, preconception returns. I'm on the floor, hands clenched in my hair, some uprooted tufts lying around me. My clothes are soaked in sweat. I've bitten my tongue, and my throat is raw from screaming, I surmise. Convulsions have left my body badly bruised, and a concussion is likely. Given the contusions on my back back of my head, I feel nothing. Has it been hours or moments? Then my vision clouds and the roar returns. Critical mass. Revelation. I understand the mechanism of my own thinking. I know precisely how I know, and my understanding is recursive. I understand the infinite regress of this self-knowing, not by proceeding step by step endlessly, but by appreciating the limit. The nature of recursive cognition is clear to me, a new meaning of the term self-aware. Fiat logos. I know my mind in terms of a language more expressive than any I've previously imagined. Like God creating order from chaos with an utterance, I make myself anew with this language. It is meta, self-descriptive, and self-editing. Not only can it be described thought, it can describe and modify its own operations well at all levels. What Godel would have given to see this language, where modifying a statement causes the entire grammar to be adjusted. With this language, I can see how my mind is operating. I don't pretend to see my own neurons firing. Such claims belong to John Lilly and his LSD experiments of the 60s. What I can do is perceive the distils. I can see the mental structures forming, interacting. I can see myself thinking. I can see the equations describe my thinking. I can see myself comprehending the equations. I can see how the equations describe their being comprehended. I know how they make up my thoughts. These are thoughts. Initially, I am overwhelmed by all this input, paralyzed with the awareness of myself. It is hours before I can control the flood of self-describing information. I haven't filtered it away, nor pushed it into the background. It's become integrated into my mental processes for use during my normal activities. It will be longer before I can take advantage of it effortlessly and efficiently, the way a dancer uses his kinetic knowledge. All that I once knew theoretically about my mind, I now see detailed explicitly. The undercurrents of sex, aggression, and self-preservation, translated by the conditions of my childhood, clash with and are sometimes disguised as rational thought. I recognize all the causes of my every mood, the motives behind my every decision. What can I do with this knowledge? Much of what is conventionally described as personality is at my discretion. The higher level aspects of my psyche define who I am now. I can send my mind into a variety of mental or emotional states, yet remain very aware of the state and able to restore my original condition. Now that I can understand the mechanisms that were operating when I attended to two tasks at once, I can divide my consciousness, simultaneously devoting almost full concentration and gestal recognition abilities to two or more separate problems. Meta-aware of all of them. What can't I do? I know my body afresh, as if it were amputee stump suddenly replaced by a watchmaker's hand. Controlling my voluntary muscles is trivial. I am in human coordination. Skills that normally require thousands of repetitions to develop, I can learn in 2 or 3. I find a video with a shot of a pianist's hands moving. Before long, I can duplicate his finger movements without a keyboard in front of me. Selective contraction and relaxation of muscles improve my strength and flexibility. Muscle response time is 35 milliseconds for conscious or reflexive action. Learning acrobatics and martial arts would require little training. I have somatic awareness of kidney function, nutrition absorption, glandular secretions. I am even conscious of the role that neurotransmissions play in my thoughts. This state of consciousness improves mental activity more intensely than any boosted strength situation. Part of my mind is maintaining a condition that could kill a normal mind and body within minutes. As I adjust the programming of my mind, I experience the ebb and flow of all substances that trigger my emotional reactions, boost my attention, or subtly change my attitude. And then I look outward. Blinding, joyous, fearful symmetry surrounds me. So much is incorporated within the patterns now that the entire universe verges on resolving itself into a picture. I'm closing in on the ultimate spiritual but rational. I must go still further to reach it, but this time the goal will not be a perceptual retreating from my fingertips. With my mind's language, the distance between myself and enlightenment is precisely calculable. I've sighted my final destination. Now I must plan my next steps. First, there are the simple enhancements to self-preservation, starting with martial art training. I will watch some tournaments to study possible attacks, though I will make only defensible actions. I can move rapidly enough to avoid contacts, even with the fastest striking techniques. This will let me protect myself and disarm any street criminals should I be assaulted. Meanwhile, I must eat copious amounts of food to meet my brain's nourishment requirements, even given increased efficiency in my metabolism. I shall also shave my scalp to allow greater radiative cooling for the heightened blood flow to my head. Then there is the primary goal, decoding those patterns. For further improvements to my mind, artificial enhancements are the only possibility. A direct computer mind link permitting mind downloading is what I need, but I must create a new technology to implement it. Anything based on digital computation will be inadequate. What I have in mind requires nanoscale structures based on neural networks. Once I have the basic ideas laid out, I set my mind to multiprocessing. One section of my mind deriving a branch of mathematics that reflects the network's behavior, another developing a process for replicating the formation of neural pathways on a molecular scale in a self-repairing bioceramic medium, a third devising tactics for guiding private industrial R&D to produce what I'll need. I cannot waste time. I will introduce explosive theoretical and technical breakthroughs so that my new industry will hit the ground running. I've gone into the outside world to reobserve of society. The sign language of emotion I once knew has been replaced by a matrix of interconnecting equations. Lines of force twist and elongate between people, objects, institutions, ideas. The individuals are tragically like marionettes, independently animate, but bound by a web they choose not to see. They could resist it if they wished, but so few of them do. At the moment, I'm sitting in a bar. 3 stools to my right sits a man familiar with this type of establishment who looks around and notices a couple in a dark corner booth. He smiles, motions for the bartender to come over, and leans forward to speak confidently about the couple. I don't need to listen to know what he's saying. He's lying to the bartender, easily, experimentally. A compulsive liar, not out of a desire for life more exciting than his own, but to revel in his facility for deceiving others. He knows the bartender is detached, merely affecting interest, which is true, but he knows the bartender is still fooled, which is also true. My sensitivity to the body language of others has increased to the point that I can make these observations without sight or sound. I can smell the pheromones extruding from his skin. To an extent, my muscles can even detect the tension within his, perhaps by an electric field. These channels cannot convey precise information, but the impressions I receive provide ample basis for extrapolation. They add texture to the web. Normal humans may detect these emotions subliminally. I'll work on becoming more attuned to them, then perhaps I can try consciously control my own expressions. I've developed abilities reminiscent of the mind control schemes offered by tabloid advertisements. My control over my somatic emotion now lets me provoke precise reactions in others. With pheromone and muscle tension, I can cause other people to respond with anger, fear, sympathy, or sexual arousal. Certainly enough to win friends and influence people. I can even induce a self-sustaining reaction in others. By associating a particular response with a sense of satisfaction, I can create a positive reinforcement loop. Like biofeedback, the person's body will strengthen the reaction of my own. I use this on corporate precedents to create support for the industries I'll lead. I can no longer dream in any ordinary sense. I lack anything that would qualify as a subconscious, and I control all the maintenance functions performed by my mind, so normal REM sleep tasks are obsolete. There are moments when my grasp on my mind slips, but they cannot be called dreams, meta-hallucinations perhaps, sheer torture. These are the periods during which I'm detached. I understand how my mind generates strange visions, but I am paralyzed and unable to respond. I can scarcely identify what I see, images of bizarre, transfinite self-references and modifications that even I find nonsensical. My mind is taxing the resources of my brain. A biological structure of this size and complexity can just barely sustain a self-knowing psyche. But the self-knowing psyche is also self-regulating to an extent. I give my mind full use of that, what's available, and restrain it from expanding beyond that. But it's difficult. I'm cramped inside a bamboo cage that doesn't let me sit down or stand up. If I try to relax or try to extend myself fully, then agony, madness. I'm hallucinating. I can see my mind imagining possible configurations it would assume and then collapsing. I witness my own delusions, my visions of what form my mind will take when I grasp the ultimate distils. Will I achieve ultimate self-awareness? Could I discover the components that make up my own mental distils? Would I penetrate res or memory? Would I find innate knowledge of mentality? I might determine whether mind could be spontaneously generated from matter and understand what relates consciousness with the rest of the universe. I might see how to merge subject and object, the zero experience. Or perhaps I'll find that the mind just cannot be generated and some sort of intervention is required. Perhaps I can see the soul, the ingredients of consciousness that surpass physicality. Proof of God, I would be beholden, the meaning, the true character of existence. I must be enlightened. It must be euphoric to experience. My mind collapses back into a state of sanity. I must keep a tighter rein over myself. When I'm in control at the meta-programming level, my mind is perfectly self-repairing. I could restore myself from states that resemble delusion or amnesia, but if I drift too far on the meta-programming level, my mind might become an unstable structure, and then I would slide into a state of mere insanity. I will program my mind to forbid itself from moving beyond its own pre-programming range. These hallucinations strengthen my resolve to create an artificial brain. Only with such a structure will I be able to actually perceive these destils instead of merely dreaming about them. To achieve enlightenment, I'll need to exceed another critical mass in terms of neurological analogues. I open my eyes. It's 2 hours, 28 minutes, and 10 seconds since I closed my eyes to rest, though not to sleep. I rise from bed. I request a listing of my stock's performance on my terminal. I look down at the screen and freeze. The screen shouts at me. It tells me there is another person with an enhanced mind. 5 of my investments have demonstrated losses. They're not frequent, but large enough that I have detected them in my body language of the stockbrokers. Reading down the alphabetical list, the initial letters of the corporations whose stock values have dropped are C, E, G, O, and R, which when rearranged spells Greco. Someone is sending me a message. There's someone else out there like me. There must have been another comatose patient who received the 3rd injection of hormone K. He erased his file from the FDA database before I accessed it and supplied false input to his doctor's accounts so they wouldn't notice. He too stole another ampule of hormone, contributing to the FDA's closing of their files, and with his whereabouts unknown to the authorities, he reached my level. He must have recognized me through the investment patterns of my false identities. You'd have to have been supercritical to do that. As an enhanced individual, he would have effected suddenly imprecise changes to trigger my losses and attract my attention. I check various data services for stock quotes. The entries on my listing are correct, so my counterpart didn't simply edit the values of my account alone. He altered the selling patterns of the stock of 5 unrelated corporations for the sake of a word. It makes for quite a demonstration. I consider it no mean feat. Presumably his treatment began before mine did, many years farther along than I am. But by how much? I begin exploring process and will incorporate new information as I acquire it. The critical question, is he friend or foe? Was this merely a good-natured demonstration of his power, or an indication of his intent to ruin me? The amounts I lost were moderate. Does this indicate concern for me, or for the corporations which he had to manipulate? Given all the harmless ways he could have attracted my attention, I must assume that he is to some degree hostile, in which case I am at risk, vulnerable to anything from another prank to a fatal attack. As a precaution, I will leave immediately. Obviously, if he were actively hostile, I'd be dead already. His sending a message means he wishes us to play games. I'll have to place myself on equal terms with him, hide my location, determine his identity, and then attempt to communicate. I pick a city at random, Memphis. I switch off the laptop screen, get dressed, pack a travel bag, collect all the emergency cash in the apartment. In a Memphis hotel, I begin working at the Suites .NET terminal. First thing I do is reroute my activities through several dummy terminals to an ordinary police trace. My queries will appear to originate from different terminals all over the state of Utah. A military intelligence facility might be able to track them to a terminal in Houston. Continuing the trace to Memphis would try even me. As alarm program at the Houston terminal will alert me if someone had successfully traced me there. How many clues to identity has my twin erased? Lacking all FDA files, I begin with the files of courier services in various cities, looking for deliveries from the FDA to hospitals during the time of the hormone case study. Then a check of the hospital's brain damage cases at the time, and I'll have a place to start. Even if any of this information remains, it's of minor value. What will be crucial is an examination of the investment patterns to find the traces of the enhanced mind. This will take time. His name is Reynolds. He's originally from Phoenix, and his early progress closely parallels mine. He received his third injection 6 months and 4 days ago, giving him a head start over me of 15 days. He didn't erase any of the obvious records. He waits for me to find him. I estimate that he's been supercritical for 12 days, twice as long as I've been. I now see his hand in the investment patterns, but the task of locating Reynolds is Herculean. I exchange usage logs across the .NET to identify accounts he's penetrated. I have 12 lines open on my terminal. I'm using 2 single-handed keyboards and a throat mic, so I can work on 3 queries simultaneously. Most of my body is immobile to prevent fatigue. I'm ensuring proper blood flow, regular muscle contraction and relaxation, and removal of lactic acid. While I absorb all the data I see, studying the melody within the notes, looking for the epicenter of a tremor in the web, hours pass. We both scan gigabytes of data circling each other. His location is Philadelphia. He waits for me to arrive, riding in a mud-splattered taxi to Reynolds' apartment. Judging by the databases and agencies Reynolds has queried over the last months, his private research involves bioengineered microorganisms for toxic waste disposal, internal contamination for practical fusion, and subliminal dissemination of information through societies of various structures. He plans to save the world to protect it from himself, and his opinion of me is therefore unfavourable. I've shown no interest in the affairs of the external world and made no investigations for aiding the normals. Neither of us will be able to convert the other. I view the world as an incidental to my aims, while he cannot allow someone with my enhanced intelligence to work purely in self-interest. My plans for mind-computer links will have enormous repercussions for the world, provoking government or popular reactions that could interfere with his plans. As I am preferably not part of the solution, I am part of the problem. If we were members of a society of enhanced mind, the nature of human interaction would be a different order. But in society, we have unavoidably become juggernauts, by whose measure their actions and normals are inconsequential. Even if we were 12,000 miles apart, we couldn't ignore each other. A resolution is necessary. Both of us have dispensed with several rounds of games. There are 1,000 ways we could have attempted to kill the other, from painting neurotoxic lace DMSO on a doorknob to ordering a surgical strike from military killstat. We both could have swept the physical area and done it for each of the myriad of possibilities beforehand and set more traps for each other's sweeps, but neither of us have done any of that. Has felt a need to check for those things. A simple, infinite regression of second guessing and double thinking has dismissed those. What would be decisive are those preparations that we could not predict. The taxi stops. I pay the driver and walk up to the apartment building. The electric lock on the door opens for me. I take off my coat and climb 4 flights. The door to Reynold's apartment is also open. I walk down the entryway to the living room, hearing a hyper-accelerated polyphony from a digital synthesizer. Evidently, it's his own work. The sounds are modulated in ways undetectable to normal hearing, and even I can't discern any pattern to them. An experiment in high information density music, perhaps. There are large swivel chairs in the room, its back turned towards me. Reynold is not visible, and he is restricting his somatic emanations to comatose levels. I imply my presence and my recognition of his identity. Reynolds, acknowledgement, Greco. The chair turns around smoothly, slowly. He smiles at me and shuts off the synthesizer at his side. Gratification, a pleasure to meet you. To communicate, we are exchanging fragments from the somatic languages of the normals, a shorthand version of the vernacular. Each phrase takes 1/10 of a second. I give a suggestion of regret. A shame it must be his enemies. Wistful agreement, then suspicion. Indeed, imagine how we could have changed the world, acting in concert to enhance minds, such an opportunity missed. True, acting cooperatively would produce achievements far outstripping any we might attain individually. Any interaction would be incredibly fruitful. How satisfying it would be to simply have a discussion with someone who would match my speed, who could offer an idea that is new to me, who can hear the same melodies I do. He desires the same. It pains us both to think that one of us will not leave this room alive. An offer. Do you wish to share what we've learned in the past 6 months? He knows what my answer is. We will speak aloud, since somatic language has no technical vocabulary. Reynolds says quickly and quietly 5 words. They are more pregnant with meaning than any stagna of poetry. Each word provides a logical toehold I can mount after extracting everything explicit in the preceding ones. Together they encapsulate a revolutionary insight into sociology. Using somatic languages, he indicates that it was among the first he ever achieved. I came to a similar realization, but formulated it differently. I immediately countered with 7 words, 4 that summarize the distinctions between my insights and his, and 3 to describe a mono result of the distinctions. He responds. We continue. We are like 2 bards, each cueing the other to improvise another stagna, jointly composing an epic poem of knowledge. Within moments we accelerate, talking over each other's words, but hearing every nuance, until we are absorbing, including and responding continuously, simultaneously, significantly. Many minutes pass. I learn much from him, and him from me. It's exhilarating to be suddenly awash in ideas whose implications would take me days to consider fully, but we're also gathering strategic information. I infer the extent of his unspoken knowledge, compare it with my own, and simulate his corresponding interferences. But there is always the awareness that they must come to an end. The formation of our exchanges renders ideological differences luminously clear. Reynolds hasn't witnessed the beauty that I have. He stood before lovely insights, oblivious to them. The sole destination that inspires him is the one I ignored, that of the planetary society of the biosphere. I am a lover of beauty, he of humanity. Each feels that the other has ignored great opportunities. He has an unmentioned plan for establishing a global network of influence to create world prosperity. To execute it, he will employ a number of people, some of whom will give him simple heightened intelligence, some meta self-awareness. A few of them will pose threats to him. Why assume such a risk for the sake of the normals? indifference towards the normal would be justified. If you were enlightened, you wouldn't intersect theirs. But as long as you and I still comprehend their affairs, we cannot ignore them. I can measure the distance between our responses precisely, see the stress between their incompatible radiating lines. What motivates him is not simply compassion or altruism, but something that entrails both those things. On the other hand, I concentrate only on understanding sublime. What about the beauty visible from enlightenment? Doesn't it attract you? You know, that kind of structure would be required to hold an enlightened consciousness. I have no reason to wait the time it would take to establish the necessary industries. He considers intelligence to be a means, while I view it as an end in itself. Greater intelligence would be of little use to him. At his present level, he can find the best possible solution to any problem within the realm of human experience and many beyond. All he required is sufficient time to implement his solution. There's no point in further discussion. By mutual assent, we begin. It's meaningless to speak of an element of surprise when we time our attacks. Our awareness can't become more acute with forewarning. It's not affording a courtesy to each other when we agree to begin our battle. It's actualizing the inevitable in the models of each other. They're constructed from our interferences. There are gaps, the internal psychological developments and discoveries that each has made. No echoes have radiated from those spaces, no strands have tied them to the world web until now. I begin. I concentrate on initiating 2 reinforcing loops in him. One is very simple. It increases blood pressure rapidly and enormously. If it were to continue unchecked for over a second, this loop would raise his blood pressure to stroke levels, perhaps 400 over 300, and burst capillaries in his brain. Reynolds detects it immediately. It's clear from our conversations that he's never investigated the instances of biofeedback loops in others. He recognizes what is happening. Once he does, it reduces his heart rate and dilates the blood vessels throughout his body. But it is the other subtler reinforcing loop that is my real attack. This is a weapon I've been developing ever since my search for Reynolds began. This loop causes his neurons to dramatically overproduce neurostimulator preventing impulses from crossing his synapses, shutting down brain activity. I've been radiating this loop at a much higher intensity than the other. As Reynolds is powering the attack, he experiences the slight weakness of his concentration, masked by the effects of the heightened blood pressure. A second later, his body begins to amplify the effects on its own. Reynolds is shocked to feel his thoughts blaring. He searches for the precise mechanism. He'll identify it soon, but he won't be able to scrutinize it for long. Once his brain function has been reduced to a level of a normal, I should be able to manipulate his mind easily. Hypnotic techniques can make him regurgitate most of the information his hand-mind processes. I inspect his somatic expressions, watching them portrays his diminishing intelligence. The regression is unmistakable, and then it stops. Reynolds is in equilibrium. I'm stunned. He was able to break the reinforcing loop. He has stopped the most sophisticated defense I could mount. Next, he reverses the damage already done. Even starting with reduced capillaries, he can correct the balance of neurotransmission, and within seconds, Reynolds is fully restored. I too was transparent to him. During our conversation, he deducted I have investigating reinforced loops, and as we communicated, he derived a general preventative without my detecting him. Then he observed the specifics of my particular tap while it was working, and learned how to reverse its effects. I am astonished at his speed, his stealth. He acknowledges my skill. A very interesting technique, appropriate given your self-absorption. I saw no indication when. Abruptly, he projects a different somatic signature, one that I recognized. He used it when we walked behind me at a grocery store 3 days ago. The aisle was crowded. Around me there were an old woman sneezing behind her air filter and a thin teenager on an acid trip, wearing a liquid crystal shirt of shifting psychedelic patterns. Reynolds slipped behind him, his mind on the porn mag's dance. surveillance didn't inform of my reinforcing loops, but it did permit a more detailed picture of my mind. A possibility I anticipated, I reformulated my psyche, incorporating random elements for unpredictability. The equations of my mind now bear little resemblance to those of my normal consciousness, undermining any assumptions Reynold may have made and rendering inefficient any psychic-specific weapons of his. I project the equivalent of a smile. Reynold smiles back. Have you ever considered that suddenly he projects only silence? Is he about to speak, but I can't predict what? Then he continues as a whisper. Self-destruct commands, Greco. As he says it, a lucid in my reconstruction of him fills and overflows, implications colouring all that I know about him. He means the word, the sentence that when uttered would destroy the mind of the listener. Reynolds is claiming that the myth is true, that every mind has a trigger built in, that for every person there is a sentence that can reduce him to an idiot, a lunatic, catatonic, and he is claiming he knows the one for me. I immediately tune out all sensory input, directing it to an insulated buffer of short-term memory. Then I conceive a simulator of my own consciousness to receive the input and absorb it to reduce speed. As a metaprogrammer, I will monitor the equations of the simulation indirectly. Only after sensory information has been confirmed as safe, I will actually receive it. If the simulator is destroyed, my consciousness should be isolated, and I will retrace the individual steps leading to the crash and derive guidelines for reprogramming my psyche. I get everything in place by the time Reynolds has finished saying my name. His next sentence could be the destruction command. I'm now receiving my sensory input with a 120 millisecond time lag. I re-examine my analysis of the human mind, explicitly searching for evidence to verify his assertion. Meanwhile, I give my response lightly, casually. Hit me with your best shot. Don't worry, it's not on the tip of my tongue. My search produces something. I curse myself. There's a very subtle backdoor to the psyche's design, which I lack the necessary mind set up to notice. Whereas my weapon was one born of introspection, here is something only a manipulator could originate. Reynold knows that I've built my defenses. Is this trigger a command designed to circumvent them? I continue deriving the nature of the trigger command's action. What are you waiting for? He's confident that additional time won't allow me to construct a defense. Try to guess. So smug. How can he actually toy with me so easily? I arrive at a theoretical description of a trigger's effects on normals. A single command can reduce a subcritical mind to a tabula rasa, but an undetermined degree of customization is needed for enhanced minds. There is distinctive symptoms which my simulator can alert me to, but those are symptoms of a progress calculated by me. By definition, the destruction command is that specific equation beyond my ability to imagine. Would my metaprogrammer collapse while diagnosing the simulator's condition? If you use the destruction command on normals, I begin calculating what's needed to generate a customized destruct command. Once, as an experiment on a drug dealer. Afterwards, I conceal the evidence with a blow to the temple. It becomes obvious that the generation is a colossal task. Generating trigger requires intimate knowledge of my mind. I extrapolate that he would have learnt about me. It appears to be insufficient given my reprogramming, but he may have techniques of observation unknown to me. I'm acutely aware of the advantages gained by studying the outside world. You will have to do this many times. His regret is evident. His plan can't be implemented without more deaths. Those of normal humans by strategic necessity, and those of a few enhanced assistants of his, whose temptation by greater heights will interfere. After using the command, Reynolds may reprogram them or me as savants, having focused intentions and restricted self-metaprogrammers. Such deaths are a necessary cost of its plan. I make no claims of being a saint, merely a saver. Normals might think him a tyrant because they mistake him for one of them, but ideas and their notions of greed and ambition do not apply to an enhanced mind. In a historic gesture, Reynolds raised his hand, forefinger extended, as if to make a point. I don't have sufficient information to generate his command, so for the moment I can only attend to defense. If I can survive his attack, I may have time to launch another one of my own. With his finger upraised, he says, "Understand." At first I don't, and then horrifically I do. He didn't design the command to be spoken. It is not a sensory trigger at all. It is a memory trigger. The command is made out of a string of preconceptions, individually harmless, and they planted in my mind like time bombs. The mental structures that were formed the result of those memories are now resolving into a pattern, forming a decimal that defines my dissolution. I'm tuning the word myself. Immediately my mind is working faster than ever before. Against my will, a lethal realization is suggesting itself to me. I'm trying to halt the associations, but those memories can't be suppressed. The process occurring as a sequence of my awareness, and like a man falling from a height, I'm forced to watch. Milliseconds pass. My death passes before my eyes. An image of the grocery store where Reynolds passed by. The psychedelic shirt the boy was wearing. Reynolds had programmed the display to implant a suggestion within me, ensuring my randomly reprogrammed psyche remained receptive even then. No time. All I can do is meta-program myself over randomly at a furious pace, an act of desperation, possibly crippling. The strange modulated sounds that I heard when I first entered Reynolds' apartment. I absorbed the fatal insights before I had any defenses raised. I tear apart my psyche, but still the conclusion grows clearer, the resolution sharper. Myself constructing the simulator. Designing those defense structures gave me the perception needed to recognize the decimal. I concede his great ingenuity. It bodes well for his endeavor. Pragmatism avails a savior far more than asceticism. I wonder what he intends to do after he saved the world. I comprehend the word and the means by which its